Hi everyone, welcome. It's Matt here from FPLGameplan, and this is my Fantasy Premier League draft team selection for the 26 to 27 Fantasy Premier League season. If you haven't done already, please hit the subscribe button if you are new here, and be sure to give the video a like and get your comments and questions in as well. You can also follow me on all of the various socials, in particular my TikTok account, where you can get most of my information under FPL Game Plan. But let's get straight into my first draft team selection. So this is the very first squad I picked straight off the bat on the Fantasy Premier League app. So what I will do is I'll share screen and start off with my goalkeeper pick. And as you can see there, for those that have followed the channel down the years, know that yes, I am a Tottenham Hotspur fan, but that isn't necessarily the reason I've gone with Kinski as my opening goalkeeper. Bear in mind, this is just my team for now. This is all subject to change, which I will go through later on in the video. But Kinski with the game week fixture away to Brentford first up. He is only £4.5 million. Traditionally, I like to spend the absolute least on a goalkeeper as possible. They get the save points for every 3 points. And this season, Fantasy Premier League are going to be favouring bonus points for goalkeepers and fullbacks. And I think Spurs with De Zerbi showed towards the end of last season that they did have to keep it tighter because they're in a relegation battle. But they will play with the ball. They will stop the opposition having the ball. They will get hurt less than what they were over previous seasons, and there could be good opportunities to keep clean sheets. Kinski's also very good at pulling off unbelievable saves as well, which will help him for these save points. So I think at the moment, for £4.5 million, playing for a team that will highly likely improve given the signings they've made, I think it's a pretty safe bet going into the start of the season. So let's go into my defense. A back three there, which I know a lot of people will probably question, where's your back four? So we've got a defender on the bench, but DEFCON being so pivotal in this game, but that would be subject to change each week. For now, you can see the back three, Van Hecker in there. I'm not 100% keen on a double up in defense at the start of the season. It can really cost you in those early moments if your team concedes, especially with it being Spurs, who I mentioned before. Not a good couple of seasons, but I do think Van Hecker has a lot of potential at 5 million. I think if Spurs get it together defensively in those first few games, you've got Senesi in there, you've got Van de Ven. There's a good structure for Spurs to have a very solid defense, and I think they will be controlling the ball for most of the game. But someone like Van Hecker will have ball recoveries. He's very, very strong from attacking set plays. He's got a few assists and goals at Brighton. And there's a bit of a buzz around that signing at Spurs. So at 5 mil, I think if he has a solid season this year, there's a high chance that he could be like a Senesi from last season, where he goes up from, I think Senesi started at 4.5. He's now 6 this year. And I feel like Van Hecker has that potential as well. So he's in there at the moment. Alongside him, Mosquera from Arsenal. Not my favourite pick, really, from Arsenal, but I think you need to cover yourself in that defence. Gabriel would be the one that I would love to have at 8 million. We all know how good he is and what a goal threat he is. But for now, Mosquera, just to cover that Arsenal defence, whilst I'm still sounding out, the pre-season friendlies and the players that I like or maybe don't like, with injuries, transfers and that type of thing. And then on the far side, £4.5 million potential bargain in Luke Shaw. And I did mention before that fullbacks will gain extra bonus points this season. If Luke Shaw is nailed in that Manchester United backline, he's someone that could be similar to what we've seen in Euro Fantasy down the years. Someone that could be, getting forward, getting good bonus points. Man United have a couple of good opening games, so we could see a clean sheet there. So I think for the price at the moment, he could potentially be a nice little cheap budget mainstay for the first few games of the season. So we'll go into my midfield. And you can see that for there, we'll start with Bruno Fernandes away to Hull. premium asset this season, effectively replacing Salah as that premium midfield asset. He's gone all the way up to £12 million. I think he's just someone you have to have, really. If he can continue last season's form, he's going to be a captain shout most weeks alongside Erling Haaland. Good opening fixture away at Hull, followed by Ipswich at home. And then to the side of him then, Ndai, he's definitely a bit of a wait and see now. Obviously a penalty taker for Everton. Very, very solid in an attacking 3, eye for goal. But it's looking like he's going to go to Saudi. So at 6 mil, I'm going to have to find someone else, highly likely at the moment. And then in that 6 mil category alongside him then, Lafitte from Sunderland, really, really strong last season for Defcon. Penalty taker as well, arrives very late in the box for Sunderland and finds the net, loves an assist. So I think there's a lot of potential there with the Ipswich away game first, and Sunderland do have a kind run of fixtures after. And then Morgan Rogers from Chelsea, now having signed from Villa for a record fee. Do you pay the bit more and go for Palmer, who will be on penalties? And we know Palmer loves bursts of goals, 2 or 3 goals per game. I think Palmer is a wait and see. He was poor last season. He was injury prone last year. And I think Rodgers, although I think he didn't have the best season for Villa compared to the season before, I think Xabi Alonso can help shape him into a very important player at Chelsea. And Chelsea have a lot to prove. They didn't win a lot of football matches in the last 2 months of the season. But I think coming in with that price tag, had a pretty good World Cup when he got the minutes. I think Rodgers could be an absolute bargain at $7.5 million if Chelsea can click early on. And then front 3, bit different, I would say, to a lot of the other drafts that we've seen. Look, Haaland, I'm not going to go into too much detail. £15.5 million, just a must-have. Captain most weeks. Havertz, okay, £7.5 million. To me, if Havertz starts that opening game against Coventry or Gyrakos, so it's going to be either one of those two, I think there is a lot of potential in there. Havertz loves to score, these bursts of goals under Arteta, especially when he's kind of going under the radar, like he did at the end of last season. And it's a very, very good price when he's fit, when he's up, when he's running. He does tend to score, those. I guess those kind of makes up the numbers with his goals. And I think just having that extra Arsenal coverage against Coventry could be quite important. And they do follow it up with some reasonable games. Villa away is tough in game week 2, but, Arsenal do have a good record at Villa Park down the years, obviously with the exception of last season. And then on the far side, Isak from Liverpool. And look, I wanted Liverpool coverage. I don't want to go into a season without a Liverpool player. I know they've got a new manager now as well. But Isak was so good the season before last and before that at Newcastle. He showed it in spells at Liverpool last season. He did get injured. He was very up and down. He didn't start that well. But I just look at him now and I think the price that he is, 9 million, he's effectively a premium FPL asset. Newcastle away, Newcastle have sold a lot of players. Liverpool did, I believe, one there towards the start of last season at the start as well. I think it was supposed to have been Isak's debut, but he made the move just around that fixture. And I think there's a lot of captain potential in Isak over the first few games. They've got some good opening fixtures, some of the newly promoted teams. So he is one to watch over this pre-season for me. I don't want it to be a case that maybe I've gotten to him too early and he's not going to be quite ready, but he looked sharp in the World Cup when he did get the minutes as well. So that does give me, a bit of hope there. And he's still a top footballer. So we'll end off with my bench. And I'll be very realistic with this bench. Fraser, Forster is I've just dead-ended that. I've just picked whatever keeper for 4 million I could. Ronaldo is a bit more of a calculated pick, 4.5 mil. He was 4 million last season. Gets me into that Sunderland defence for very cheap if he ends up being the starter again. I think that could be a real good early, bargain pick. And I could even play him on the first day of the season if I wanted. But again, wait and see, depending on teams. Van Jusic from Coventry, I'll be honest right now, I don't know much about him. I just picked a 4 million defender in there, and then Will Hughes just making up the numbers because he starts games for Palace and potentially maybe some DEFCON in there, being quite a defensive midfielder type of player, but really there to make up the numbers. So we'll scroll out, and this is the full squad. There it is on screen. And as I mentioned before, we'll try and zoom in a bit more. You can see the lineup and the subs. And as I mentioned before, this is 100% subject to change based on transfers, injuries, players returning from the World Cup that aren't back yet. Plenty of things that can happen from now until the end of the season. So let me know what you think in the comments. Hit the subscribe if you've got this far and are new. Give the video a like as well. And as I mentioned before, head over to my TikTok channel, FPL Gameplan. And there's plenty of posts and action going on there right now. So go and check that out. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm Matt from FPL Gameplan, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.